Hello everyone and welcome back to the Social Shifters podcast. I am joined by a very special guest, Giselle Gonzales, the founder of EqualReach and the winner of the Global Innovation Challenge 2023 special award category, which is the Amazon Refugee Challenge. And what a pleasure it is, so tune in. Hey Giselle.
Hey, good to be here.
No, thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure to meet you in person. How do you feel? How did you feel when you found out the news that you're a winner?
I was shocked. I think especially being in that community online with so many other entrepreneurs that were pursuing so many creative solutions to big humanitarian or environmental problems. I looked around and I was like, this is an incredible group of humans. So to be picked out amongst that group, I was super honored.
No, I love that. And I love that phrase, an incredible group of humans. So I'm not sure, are you into superheroes at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Who's your favorite?
Well, I say that and I still haven't seen the big Marvel movie.
Yes.
The Endgame. Yep. So I'm mildly into superheroes, but I would say Spider-Man. Even though he's gone through a lot of different iterations, the with great power comes great responsibility line, I always think of that.
No, I love that. And so, like, obviously with Spider-Man, you'll know his origin story, getting bit by the spider and so forth. Like, what's your origin story? What made Giselle, and how's your journey of becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, starting where I am today, EqualReach is basically connecting teams of skilled and vetted tech talent from displaced communities with dignified digital work. But that business model has been about 8 years in the making. So back in 2015-16, I was working as a freelancer myself. I was working in travel for part of the year, and then the rest I was working with nonprofits and startups who are doing really interesting things to make the world a better place. And I had the opportunity to travel the refugee route. So this was when Germany had opened up their borders to over 1 million people during the Syrian crisis. And there was this mass exodus from Syria into Europe, and nonprofits and pretty much everyone was just kind of scrambling to keep up with this wave of people coming in. And so no one really knew how to help. No one knew what was actually happening on the ground. There were a lot of big numbers, a lot of fear without a lot of facts. Yeah. And so I traveled with a really small team to basically just collect stories and identify what was really happening. So starting from Lesbos Island all the way up from Greece to Germany, I documented stories of volunteers, locals, and refugees along the way to understand what their real needs were and then communicate that back to nonprofit partners, and ended up working with this really cool app in Germany that was building a solution to help refugees get into Europe and navigate finding a place to charge their phones and finding a place to get a warm meal or a bed to sleep in. So that was this aha moment for me of first getting experience with the experience of being a refugee. And I think hearing those stories one-on-one, I remember specifically being in a refugee camp that was this converted meatpacking facility in Serbia. And the people were coming in every 30 minutes by the busload. And I just walked up and asked someone their story, like, why did you leave? What did you do back in Syria? And he was saying, I was a fashion designer. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah. He's like, no, I was basically not telling me he was a big deal, but he just pointed around. He's like, see that lady's jacket? A random lady in the camp. He's like, I designed that. And that was this aha moment of not only is this a crazy and horrific experience that people just like you and I were going through, but they had such incredible skills and talents that were totally being unrecognized or unknown because they get labeled refugee, and that becomes the most interesting part about them when really that's like a fraction of who someone is. So after that experience, that was really shaping for me. And then working with the app our organization in Germany, I realized, okay, technology has a really cool a role to play in solving a humanitarian challenge. So fast forward a couple of years, I got my master's and focused my dissertation on the emergence of digital work for refugees as a way to bring them into job creation, let's say when they are settled in a new place. Okay, when that humanitarian aid and kind of emergency process is passed, how do they actually find dignified opportunity and work and are able to sustain, an income and a life and rebuild for themselves? And digital work presented this really unique case. Then fast forward again, COVID hit and I had to get a big girl job. So I went into the corporate world. And when I was working at a Fortune 5 company, I realized that I had the very types of jobs that people were trying to get access to. And so I basically looked around to my team and said, okay, let's just see what would happen if we sent this type of work to displaced communities. And we saw incredible business and social impact from that. So much so that those teams are still working to this day with this team, and they've been able to earn over 6 figures in income from digital work that my team, just embedded within our operations, was able to send to them. And so, again, that was another one of those aha moments. I feel like my origin story is a series of aha moments from experiences that have all kind of tied together to lead to this point where I realized, okay, there's an opportunity here, and I think it's I either know I know it's that there's a need for job creation for displaced communities, and I do nothing about it, or I take a leap, I leave my comfortable job, and I go all in to try to build a solution.
I love that. I love that. It's the series of aha moments. So you obviously spotted a lot of things there, and you reacted to it. Like, have you always been entrepreneurial?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was younger, I started a side hustle going to garage sales and getting books and realizing, if I could get this book for 25 cents at the end of the day when someone was cleaning out their garage, and I could sell it online for $30, $40, $60. And so I had little side hustles all the time. And I just love being able to create with business, especially when you merge a deeper purpose. That, to me, is when I really come alive.
No, that's amazing. And so you're doing some really cool stuff with EqualReach and everything you said. I love that bit where you said when people are displaced and they become a refugee, that typically becomes the thing that most people focus on. And so what would you describe, how would you put in your words the importance of what you're doing with EqualReach?
Kind of to take a step back, there are currently over 110 million forcibly displaced people in the world, over half of which are youth. So we're talking 1% of the world's population displaced. And oftentimes these are, digitally native young people with marketable skills who want to be able to access work and have probably been doing great work in their host community or in their home countries before they had to be displaced. And so to me, I just see this incredible untapped potential. Yeah. And it feels heartbreaking to look around then and see our systems of oftentimes the countries that refugees are located in. Almost 70% of those are already under or at the poverty line themselves, or struggling just to have their own job creation. And so you have incredible untapped talent. You have host communities where they are legally prohibited from working locally. And then you have this digital economy that has become this new world of opportunity. And yet, as a displaced person, there are all these invisible barriers that exist, like the inability to access the platforms that you and I could get onto and get freelancing jobs, or even access the payment solutions. Like if you look in the MENA region, the last time I looked at PayPal's block lists, 54% of countries in MENA were blocklisted. Wow. And that means that people can see PayPal as an option, but they just can't connect their own bank account. They can't use it and register themselves. Wow. And so we think that's one of the world leading payment solutions. And yet that so many businesses rely on to facilitate payments to freelancers or companies. And yet if you can't access that, not only are you not able to work locally, but you're able to see the opportunities, and yet you're faced with all of these reasons why you can't participate. I just see that as a massive problem, and that's what I'm trying to build a solution for. if I look on the job demand side, I think on the flip side of the coin, there is incredible, there's a massive amount of jobs and roles that aren't being fulfilled locally when like tech talent.
Yeah.
The International Monetary Fund estimates, which is like, I can't believe I'm boring myself just saying that.
No, I love it.
But like they've got a crazy stat that in the next, by 2030, there will be over 85 million tech roles that are unable to be filled, locally within Europe or North America. And so we are going to need to start sourcing talent from places outside of, like just down the road. And so whether that talent is already here or we're extending those opportunities elsewhere, to me, I just see those as two sides of the same coin, a growing demand and a growing untapped talent.
No, there's so much in that, and it's so true. No, I love that. Don't worry, it's not boring. I love the stats and figure to IMF and stuff. That's cool. Kind of takes you back to being in geography class.
Yeah.
About, like the IMF and the World Bank. Did you say MENA? Did you say MENA?
Yeah. So Middle East and Africa.
Okay.
Middle East and North Africa. Excuse me.
No, I love that. And so, what would you say? Like, what impact have you had so far of EqualReach? Because I know about some of the cool stuff you've been doing. But yeah. Fully honest, like what would you say the biggest impacts you've probably had so far, or in your words?
Yeah. So the model came from my research about 4.5 years ago, and then I've been essentially applying this model at every job that I've had, and working with displaced teams over the last few years. And so that's meant, like I said earlier, we have teams in 2 of the largest refugee camps that have earned over 6 figures. And the way that I apply kind of digital work, non-exploitative practices is having really competitive, higher wages to dedicated teams. And so that means that the teams I've worked with, they've earned 4 to 6 times higher wages than the highest paying local jobs available for working a fraction of the time.
Yeah.
With EqualReach now, I've been at it full time for 3 months now. I left my full-time job back in September. Thank you. And so what we've already started, we're already revenue generating with clients.
Nice.
I have more backlog of projects and clients than I have the talent, because right now I'm in the process of vetting and onboarding teams of talent that I trust that we can start sending this work to, which is a really great problem to have.
Love that.
But we've kicked off projects in Ethiopia and Kenya. So one startup, for example, we're working with, they have a kind of DevOps engineering technical project building a website and kind of the back-end automation to it. We've got some amazing, mostly female software engineers in Kenya and Ethiopia doing that work. We also have kind of an entry-level project that we're doing that's around web research. And so that type of work is already being facilitated. And so the work is happening. I'm just scrambling as fast as I can to build the engine to start facilitating more and more projects through EqualReach.
No, that's so powerful. Well done. That's so much in there. That's a massive impact. It takes a village.
I'm the voice piece, but there's so many incredible people that have been working alongside me for this.
Okay, so how, can you tell us about some of those incredible people that are working with you?
Yeah. I mean, so I've got a team of volunteers.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm sure a lot of other entrepreneurs or young people like me who are listening or watching this, finding money to start this thing is really difficult. 100%. And so oftentimes I've just started talking about the vision and people have come out of the woodwork saying, hey, I've got 10 hours or I've got 20 hours or 40 hours I can dedicate to working with you and help build this. So I've built up this team of volunteers. We've got a web developer and a web designer who's building the EqualReach website and platform right now. I was just seeing a mock of it yesterday and I was getting so excited. So I can't wait. Hopefully by the time this podcast comes out or soon after, I'll share that. But I've got, people working on the client onboarding and then the partners I work with. So EqualReach helps funnel and identify work from companies.
Nice.
And then we help facilitate it with the contracting, the payments, the identifying of teams, and making sure the project goes well from start to finish. But on the other side, we've got these delivery partners, which are refugee-led organizations, nonprofit, social enterprises that are actually managing and supporting individuals, oftentimes from like digital upskilling cohorts that they have, that they've done this incredible training and now they're looking to match those graduates with work. And so I think the partners that inspire me the most on a day-to-day basis are those delivery partners.
Yeah.
One that we're working with right now is Namal.
Okay.
They support digital upskilling and soft skill and mentorship support for refugee talent. And they have just been the most wonderful group to work with. So I'm on a WhatsApp thread with them chatting almost daily of the ideas of what this EqualReach, platform and solution is being able to spark of new opportunities now for their graduates, where the cycle doesn't end with upskilling. Now it can continue with using those skills in creating real livelihood and jobs at the end of that funnel.
Yeah, I really like as well, like within that you mentioned the soft skills as well. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think that's something that's massively missed in most industries, like,
Yeah.
in tech. So that's a really, really cool work that's happening. So you mentioned some of the stuff that entrepreneurs go through, and challenges is part of the role. What's been your biggest challenge so far, and what have you learned from it on your amazing journey that you're telling us about?
Yeah. I mean, the easy go-to is funding,
Yes.
just to kick things off. Thankfully, we're built to be self-sustaining, so it's just getting that initial boost from the beginning. But I think beyond that, that's kind of the bigger thing is I've found is just prioritizing.
Yes.
I feel like as an entrepreneur, you have to wear so many different hats. I go into one meeting and be wearing my legal hat and then context switching within the next 30 minutes and talking about web design and branding, and if EqualReach was an ice cream shop, what flavor would it be? Like, those are very different roles to be stepping into. And so I think just prioritizing, if there's so much work to do, how do I take each day and treat, each activity of, okay, progress over perfection. I don't need to do this alone. I can and should be getting support and help with people who are more talented and skilled in all of these different niches that I need support in. But yeah, I think prioritizing and building a team around me is what I'm continually learning is so important to get through all of what needs to get done with a startup.
Yeah, so I love progress over perfection. That's something we can apply like so many areas of our life. No, I love that. Whether that's fitness, business, whatever it is, relationships with family and friends. So that was really cool. When you spoke about the team there at the end, I can imagine other entrepreneurs watching this, and that is one of the struggles, right? Everyone's trying to build their own little team of Avengers to go take on the world, right?
Yeah.
And what kind of advice would you give to someone in terms of trying to find good people to work with? How do you navigate that challenge?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. One note on the progress over perfection. Yeah. I found within my first week of going full-time at EqualReach that I was not making progress. Okay. And so I literally wrote that in Sharpie and put it on a sticky note above my computer so that I stare at that every morning to keep on going, even if it's not perfect. But when it comes to the team and the people I surround myself with, I think what's been most important is just starting first with friendship of people that I'm genuinely curious to get to know, and not going into relationships with this, well, what are you going to give me? And
like transactional.
Yeah, not treating people as transactional. I think it's because I've been working, and thinking about displaced communities for the last almost 8 years. There have been a network of people who have just inspired me, who I want to learn from. So oftentimes I find myself the most drawn towards people that I just want to learn from. They have really interesting stories or creative ways that they're seeing the world, or failures that I want to learn from, or successes. Like, both of those are equally as valuable. And And so I think just starting from a relational standpoint, and I actually, when I'm talking with people who come to me asking to volunteer, I start with that same question of the superpowers. I'm like, okay, what is the work that makes you come alive? Because I can fit them within, a plethora of different projects that I need to put this whole puzzle together. Yeah. But if they're in a role or helping in work that is not core to who they are, what makes them tick and get excited about work, like it's not going to be a good fit. So I think surrounding yourself with people that you're learning from, surrounding yourself with people that are inspiring you and are able to like do what they do best is probably the best advice I have, but I'm still learning.
No, that's great. And that is great advice. And I guess like that progress of perfection is so profound. I think that definitely is one, and like reaching out to people, like you said. So some people come to you, do you find these people like online? Do you go to events, or do you go like on LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram? How do you find people, like connect with them?
LinkedIn has been incredible. I would also say to entrepreneurs out there, surround yourself with mentors.
For sure.
And LinkedIn is a really great aspect for that. Like I have reached out totally blind to people where I just look at what they post. I look at their career backgrounds. Even before I was a startup founder myself, I was like just looking like, okay, who has a career I would want to emulate? Who I would want to be friends with? I think like, okay, do I have a friend crush on them? Like, would I want to be your friend in real life? And those are the people I'll typically reach out or just say, hey, I know you're probably really busy. This is what I really admire about the work you're doing. Do you have 15 minutes for a call? Oftentimes people won't say yes to 30 minutes, but they will say yes to 10 or 15 minutes. And usually then that will stretch into 30 minutes. And it's a great way for you to meet people that you would have never met before. And I think if your visions for the world and like the things you care about align, and you have a compelling thing that you're working out where you get to share what makes you come alive, it oftentimes like those are then moments where you find the aha moments of, oh, you have the superpower that I need in what I'm building, or vice versa. Maybe you have something that could be helpful for them.
No, that's really cool. And I like that. That's practical, tactical advice to reaching out. And 15 minutes, like you said, 10, 15 minutes is a good window.
Yeah.
And so what's your grand vision? Like if you're like, hey, do you know what? Looking into the future, 5-10 years, what's your vision for EqualReach? Where would you like it to be?
I would love for EqualReach to be disrupting the way the private sector outsources for good.
Okay.
There is so much work that is already happening of when we think about like freelancing projects or short-term contracts that even governments or NGOs or, enterprises or startups have that they need, a team of people for a set amount of time. They're not yet ready to hire full-time. That is already happening. So why can't we redirect that to teams of displaced talent that are eager for that type of work? It takes a lot for someone to come from a digital, let's say, upskilling program to go into formal, full-time or part-time employment. And oftentimes there's a whole bunch of legal restrictions around that. But there's this massive gap of what would happen if we started tapping into that 110 plus million people, tap into those skill sets and start creating opportunities so that they can not only support themselves and their immediate family, but then become, with the money that they're earning and the experience they're earning, become job creators for others in their communities, the local host communities, and also displaced alike. So there's this saying, you can give a man a fish and it'll feed him for a day, or you can give him a fishing pole and it'll feed him for a long time. My vision for EqualReach is to build the harbor so that we are facilitating all kinds of job creation that could be lasting and sustainable for displaced and host communities, but then also giving businesses an outlet to outsource their work for good. I'm so passionate about this space, and I think other startup entrepreneurs, NGOs, whatever you're building, if you're working to build something to make the world better. I think oftentimes it comes because you see the world and something about it that isn't the way it should be, that gives your heart pain or that makes you angry. And I think for me, I've seen stuff that makes me so angry, and it just does not make sense that the world is a certain way. And so I'm like, okay, well, I could either mope about this, or I can go out and use my platform, my voice, my skills, however, many I have, and do something about that. Hopefully that makes a difference for others. And I feel like that's so much more motivating to work and build something for when it's not just yourself.
So with all of the wonderful things you're doing, and that vision's incredible, by the way, for EqualReach, if you could go back and speak to your younger self before you started EqualReach and before you saw these problems and the challenges you're trying to solve, what one piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say that no matter where you are and what you're doing, you have an opportunity to make an impact. When I had first graduated college, I had this idea that I need to work with nonprofits. That's the only way that I'm going to make a positive impact in the world. And I quickly realized through those series of aha moments that in every industry, there are opportunities to embed, almost like throwing in broccoli into a brownie to like get kids to eat their vegetables. Yeah. You can be someone that is embedding socially and environmentally impactful practices into your everyday work. When I started in the corporate world, I had a pretty low role and did not, when I joined the job, it almost felt like I had, internally, I questioned, have I given up on this lofty goal of being someone who can help displaced communities? But because I had this fire inside me and this kind of frustration at like, okay, the world can't just be like this. Like, there's got to be something more. I looked around and quickly realized I had an opportunity to make an impact exactly where I was. So for all of the entrepreneurs out there, even if it's, a dream idea or they haven't yet landed on what that is, they're not wasting time wherever they are. Like there are people that they have influence over in their immediate sphere. There are jobs that they have control over that they can help, steer better business practices for it. Let's say if they're in the private sector world. So I would just say that do what you can with what you have with where you are right now.
No, I love that. Very actionable.
Yeah.
And very smart.
If you, let's say you're a startup founder and you have more projects than you know what to do with, or you're someone who works at a big company like I was, and you have the types of projects that could be outsourced to a group of displaced talent, reach out. You can go to equalreach.io, and we're building a new website and building the back-end platform. But we're already accepting projects, and we have teams that we're starting to connect around the world. So if you need a team that's in South America or in the Middle East or Africa, or you need very specific type of skills, whether it's digital marketing, content creation, or full stack web development, whatever that digital work is that could be done remotely, we probably have a team, or we will find a team for that as we continue to grow. So reach out at EqualReach, or if you don't want to work with us, great, but start looking within your own companies and look for opportunities. If you can hire a refugee employee full-time or part-time, or if you can work with a freelancer that has experienced forced displacement. Those seem like really insignificant things to you, but when you are presenting someone with livelihood creation for their talents, it's so much more empowering than just giving someone aid. You're giving someone back a piece of their dignity of seeing them for the skill and talent that they bring to the table, and not just their current ID status.
That last bit was profound. Loved it. No, that was really great. So you heard it here first. People reach out to EqualReach. So where can they find you online if they want to follow you more about either yourself or EqualReach and the journey that you're on?
Well, feel free to find me, Giselle Gonzales, on LinkedIn or EqualReach on LinkedIn. But equalreach.io is where you'll find our website and where you'll be able to, let's say you have a project today that you want to send our way. We've got a form for you can fill out, and we'll kick off the process.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Giselle. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks
and again,
so much.
congratulations for being the winner of the Amazon Refugee Challenge Special Award category for the Global Innovation Challenge 2023. So no, really, really well done.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. Yeah, and so thankful for the Social Shifters team. Having this type of opportunity to not only share our story, but to get great mentors along the way through this process. And it's been a joy. So I hope we continue to keep in touch, and I will be supporting whatever entrepreneurs come out of the next cohorts as well.
Oh, we appreciate that. No, thank you. Very humbling.
If you want to learn more about Social Shifters and how we can help you to impact the social or environmental issues that matter to you most, subscribe to our YouTube channel or find us on Instagram and Spotify.